because she posted a picture yesterday about National Night Day. She's still there. They're there. Or at least they were yesterday.
Sprinkles going. I'm trying to round up.
Was there?
I'm parked on the deck behind here in front of me.
It's like a flock of seagulls, except for they're not big.
The filibusters. Something like that.
We got the whole day wrong.
Okay, it's time. We'll call the state government meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the State Government Committee meeting. At this time, clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Sells?
Here.
Representative Bedsole?
Here.
Dr. Boyd? Representative Butler? Representative Chestnut?
Here.
Representative Keel? Representative Kirkland? Representative Lands? Representative Lawrence?
Here.
Representative Paramore?
Here.
Representative Shaw?
Here.
Representative Stothagen? Representative Wood?
Here.
Representative Yarborough? We have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum, and at this time, we'll start conducting business. First up will be, we're going to move SB 96 down to the bottom of the list, and we're going to start with HB 162. Representative Lipscomb.
Thank you, Chairman. Committee members, this is a bill that was introduced last year, and well, it just got a little busy, and we couldn't get too much done with it, even though it is rather simple. If you've seen it, it's a one-pager. So it basically says that if you have got homeless people within your community, municipality, whatever the case may be, that you may not transport them to another municipality without having some written permission from that other municipality. So the exception, transport is allowed if authorized by law, a court order, or with a consent from the homeless individual or their agent. Inter-county agreements, transport is permitted if a written agreement exists with an entity in another city or county and that entity formally accepts the individuals. And the penalty involved is that the violations are classified as a Class A misdemeanor for each separate offense. The whole purpose of this was primarily not for problems that were really occurring within our state, although that was happening to some extent. The primary offenders were out-of-state people who were bringing their homeless individuals into the state of Alabama, and we needed some means by which we can grab them while they're in transit and deal with that. So that's House Bill 162.
Representative Chestnut.
I just want to say, Representative Lipscomb, I like this bill. This was something that I first learned of about perhaps 15 years ago when I sat as a municipal court judge. There was at least one neighboring municipality, it was about maybe 40 miles away, that I had individuals that would come in to court who were homeless, and I would say, well, why were you there? And the guy would say, well, I really live in this other community, but the police officer picked me up and told me he was going to drop me off in Selma. And I also had, a few officers to tell me about this as being an issue. So this is something that does happen. So
Right.
I like to move for a favorable report at
Okay.
the appropriate time.
Okay, we'll take note of that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Representative Bedsole.
Representative Lipscomb, I think I do, as Representative Chestnut explained, like the spirit and intent, but I feel like this bill is ripe for some unintended consequences. And I know often as we set out the path and we talk about bills or have them in committee, that is a term that is often used. But I see this from my perspective of being a law enforcement officer and also serving in a county in which that we don't have a lot of resources when it comes to homeless. So our resources are in a neighboring county. So there has been circumstances and times in my career in which that we have facilitated that transport, and it's not for malicious reasons to dump our problems on someone else. It's to try to deliver services to someone who is truly in need of services. And isn't that what we should be doing? We should take advantage of those opportunities where Birmingham is the hub of the metro area in which that they have those resources and available to us. And so many times, and it hasn't been in a situation where we could have stopped and said, well, let me call and ask Birmingham if they're okay with this. Let me stop and get an MOU between Shelby County and Birmingham. So I think that would be a hindrance. And then to that, the idea of making it a crime for a police officer who could be arrested just simply by transporting a homeless person to a destination. And so I'll expand on that a little bit, because sometimes they simply don't have a mode of transportation and they're trying to get somewhere, and we have limitations on how far we can take them. And we may take them into the city of Birmingham or Homewood and say, this is the farthest we can go outside of our county and still take care of our responsibilities. And so we take them as far as we can, and then let's just say they're encountered by a local officer, and that homeless person says, well, I was dropped off here by a county deputy. I didn't want to come here. But that's not in reality. So I think that while I understand the spirit and there was other areas in which this may have been going on, I don't think this is necessarily cases of nefarious activity where they're just dropping off homeless people to create havoc. So
I don't think that would be the case with law enforcement officers. I don't think those are the bad actors. And I think I can address both of your issues. First of all, within the bill, the simple solution is to simply have that agreement with the local municipality. Then, therefore, there's no issue. Party A has spoken with Party B. Hey, we can't support these homeless individuals. Will you help us out? Yes, we will. Problem solved. That's addressed in the bill. The second problem, if you've got an issue where you're concerned about the law enforcement officers being fined, I think we can probably do a floor amendment or something to that magnitude to address that. That's an easy fix, because I certainly do not. The intention was not to penalize law enforcement, but the other bad actors.
Right. And if I didn't do a good job saying I don't think that was your intent at all, just simply trying to give you real life examples. And while it may seem simple just to have that agreement, I don't know that that's necessarily practical. You could find in terms where the city of Birmingham says, yes, we acknowledge we have these homeless resources, but we're going to keep that for ourselves. So we don't want you to bring them there. And then what should we do with a homeless person that is in the freezing cold that needs to get somewhere? Warming shelters. They're often at Boutwell Auditorium or BJCC in that area, and we don't have anything available in Shelby County, and so we'll do our best to facilitate someone. So, again, understanding the spirit and intent of the bill, I think to that note, Mr. Chairman, I would love the idea to try to continue to flesh this out a little bit, and if there was a way to put this in a subcommittee for some of the members here to continue to work with you on, I would like to see that. It'd be something that we could do to continue to work with you as the sponsor.
I respectfully disagree with the subcommittee recommendation. We attempted that last year. It really got nowhere simply because we had two different parties who had different opinions of the solution, and they just could not come to a head. So I think it really boils down to the fact if this committee decides that this is a bill they want to get behind, and they think that it's a fair and reasonable thing to keep people from dropping their burdens on other people, I think we should have an up or down vote, yes or no on that.
Yes, sir, can I say something? I would like to say that I agree with everybody that said something here today. And after looking at the bill, I have a little concern with it. I think it is a one-page bill. I think maybe it needs to be a three-page bill. And what I'd like to do is at least carry it over to call of the chair. I mean, we'll vote it up or down, but right now I'm not for it. And that's not in your favor, I can promise you that. But I'd like to carry it over, and let's meet with the parties, and let's come up with a solution. What you want to do is a good thing. I appreciate that. But the mechanism we have here, I don't think is what we need to do it with. But I think we can get to a spot. I mean, I really do. Don't you think so, Vice Chairman? Yes, sir. I think we could get to a spot, but I don't think we're there right now. So either we can carry it over to call to the chair, or let's just do that. Let's just do that, and let's just work on it one time. I think we can fix it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. You still need to speak.
You just messed up all my comments. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, you can speak next time. Okay, thank you.
I did want to ask kind of like what parties that you've been working with that you see that may have some disagreement with this piece of legislation?
Candidly, the primary opposition has been the vice chairman. He was the primary opponent of it last year, and apparently continues to be the opponent of it this year.
Okay, just a question.
Well, I think law enforcement, it also almost in a way plays law enforcement against law enforcement if you're not careful.
The reason I ask because I have two of my sheriffs in my county.
You noticed they was all shaking their head like this when I said that.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure. That's all. I'm just want to make sure. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I would like to acknowledge our sheriffs. We have some good sheriffs back there in the back. Thank y'all for coming to committee today. Okay, yes,
Thank you, Chairman.
thank you. Okay, next up is going to be HB 376, and that'd be Vice Chairman Bedsole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So many of you have commented about the birdhouse that I have here, and it's not because I brought my birds here today to be on display, but I did bring a bit of a visual aid. What this bill proposes under current Alabama law, every 5 years we must have new license plates generated. Really for no rhyme or reason other than that's been the way it has been for years. But a look around our specific area, we see that we're more of the exception than norm. Florida, every 10 years they produce new license plates. North Carolina 7, South Carolina 10. Some at the discretion of the registrant, and others at the discretion of their Department of Revenue. Here's the reason I bring this bill is this is a cost-cutting measure or cost-saving measure, not only for the state of Alabama, but for our counties. And the reason the counties come into play here is when they are in the business of customer service, more and more counties are online re-registration and then in turn mailing out your license plate. Every few years, every 5 years in this case, when they mail out your license plates, their postage rates go through the roof. I have in front of me Shelby County, for example, my home county. In 2026, an estimate of $148,000 in postage. In 2027, when license plates are mailed out, that jumps to $361,000, and they have some trends going back. Revenue numbers are about $1.82 per license plate to produce it. And then if you do that math out and do that every 5 years, that $1.82 times about 600,000 license plates that are issued in our state, that's over $1 million. If we simply extend this out to every 10 years instead of every 5 years, there's basically a savings of about $547,000. So that is my bill, Mr. Chairman. I would entertain any questions.
Do we have any questions or any comments? How about entertaining the motion? Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, sir. Your bill passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next up, we have HB 425, Vice Chairman Bedsole. You're recognized.
Me again, sorry. HB 425 pertains to the wonderful mental health entities that operate around our state. Every one of us in our state has a local mental health authority that administers mental health in our state. And the 310 boards is a reference to the Act 310 that set up these boards. The 310 boards operate and oversee the administration of the mental health authorities. For many years, these boards have operated in our state. What this bill aims to do is a few different things. If any member board that has more than 16 or more members, they'll have an executive committee. What this bill does in order to create the efficiency, and I can speak firsthand here, is having a representative from law enforcement, the sheriffs, and also probate. Anytime there's an executive committee on the 310 board, this bill would say there needs to be a representative of a probate judge on the executive committee, and then a sheriff or their designee on the committee. Ensure that whole continuity of care that exists in the mental health world is in place. This bill also creates provisions to modernize the way we meet. A lot of these 310 boards are spread out, and oftentimes members are very lacking in participation. This creates the ability for them to virtually attend in conformity to Open Meetings Act's law. I will say we're continuing to work on a few pieces of this legislation and some, we'd probably expect an amendment on the floor that piece related to Open Meetings Act, that will have that, and that'll actually match more closely with what is current law in Alabama. So I'll be happy to entertain any questions on this bill.
Okay, at this time, do we have any questions? Well, let's see, we have Representative Lands.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Bedsole, I have a background in community mental health, so I'm familiar with 310 boards. And is there something that led to this legislation?
Yes. Oh, do you?
Oh, can you elaborate?
Good answer.
I just thought I'd answer with a yes or no there. Yeah, there are some boards there that that in our state I think that have not been as efficient as possible, and to ensure the representation is there. Again, that continuity of care that exists with the probate judge, the sheriff being a part of that process. I can speak personally in our local mental health agency that when we actually weren't all on the same page, we had our probate judge as a part of the board, and it was very helpful to have that person in that role because they were able to facilitate a firsthand account of when things weren't working smoothly, how that affected the process of getting someone committed into that probate court. So having that person with the expertise as a part of it is very helpful. This bill also inserts some diversity requirements to kind of bring that up to speed to where we should be from uniform basis. And then again, these boards can be spread out. We have a mental health district in our state that is in South Alabama, but also in East Alabama, and they're so spread out, the participation for them on their boards isn't what it should be, so this allows them to participate virtually.
And that part I understand. I think it's just, under existing law, we can already appoint who we'd want. There's nothing that prohibits us from putting a probate judge or a sheriff on the board. Is that correct?
They can make those appointments and participate, and I think this is actually a positive. As I was having discussions, one of the things I think is really interesting here, or as a positive, is that if you have a situation where the sheriff of the county or the probate judge doesn't feel like it's operating the way it should, now we've brought them to the table, and they're a part of the conversation, and really it'll be a great education piece. And so no more can they point fingers, they've got to be a part of the solution here. So we're bringing them to the table, and I think in counties across our state, that's what everyone would like to see, is that representation to be a part of the process, so we can deliver the mental health care to the most efficient way possible.
And I see that's maybe an issue in some parts of the state. I know it's not where I live, and I know the 310 boards are set up to have consumer and family participation, and I just fear that mandating that all boards do it this way when I think many of them are functioning well in their current form.
Yeah, I think another thing to point out here, this adds some language in, is that right now, if they have those 16 or more members, they have the executive board. This actually says that they may, at their own choice, if they wish to not even have an executive board, they can still operate just as a full body, and they don't have to have an executive board. So it gives them the choice if they really want to have an executive board or not.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, do we entertain a motion? Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second, Mr.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, noted. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn the chair over to our vice chairman. I have next two bills on the calendar.
Surprise. I didn't know that. Okay. This time we'll call SB 96, Mr. Chair.
Okay, SB 96 is a piece of legislation that probably me and Randy Wood right here, the only two going to understand this. It's got to do with wrecked cars. Right now, if you wreck your car in another state, well, let me back up. So Department of Revenue allows you, if you wreck your car and it's totaled out, you actually can take it and have it repaired one time and get it inspected through Department of Revenue. But if you do that in another state, once you wreck it and it's totaled out, they flag it as a parts-only vehicle, and you can't bring it back to Alabama and have that done. They mark the title, and at that point, the title is no good. Can't be inspected and retitled. So what this simply does, it says if you wreck your car in another state, that you can bring it back to Alabama, and if you so want to have it repaired and reinspected and retitled as a rebuilt vehicle on the title, it'll be flagged. You can do so.
Okay. Any questions?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, bill has a favorable report. Next bill is HB 426. Mr. Sells?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last year we set up the Alabama Ad Valorem Advisory Committee, and simply what this does, it adds 2 residents, taxpayers of Alabama to the committee. Right now it exists mostly of tax professionals, and it's just put some everyday taxpayers on the committee so we have better representation.
All right, any questions for the bill sponsor? All right, we have a second by Yarbrough. Oh, question? Yes, sir.
Just to give better representation. It was noted that everybody on the advisory committee was a tax official, so we wanted to make it a little more diverse.
All right, any further questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The bill has a favorable report. Mr. Chairman?
Okay, if that's it, meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending today.
Thanks. What do you? Whoa! Oh, that's yours. Hey.
They're not the one laying up on the thing in the chamber, are they?
A little bit of whack-a-mole today.
Okay.
I've had them all day.
You better go find them.
Sit back and does all the Cajun boils on Facebook. Hydrate, live bait. Keep your feet up, bait.
Breakfast. Yeah, it's like with no redneck hibachi. Friends, you looking good. How is it? I didn't think prison. I thought you said you got him in prison. I didn't. You would have took your job. What y'all do is 5